Gee whiz, the next election is February 28th. I think you all know that. We are voting for mayor, city clerk, city treasurer, all the alder people. They have various names. Some of the people on the city government committee like to call them just alders. Police district council members, and then it's possible that in your specific precinct, you will find a local referendum. And if you look at your sample ballot, you can see whether it's there. In order to vote in Chicago, you have to be registered, and you can register before or even on election day. The only requirements are that you live in Chicago, so you have to show proof of that, and that you're a citizen. And if you say you were born in Chicago, that takes care of that. So the question here is, are there people who still need to register? You cannot register anymore with the forms that we use, that League of Women Voters uses and turns in, but you can still register online. And all of these QR codes that you see here are live. If you take your camera and you take a picture of that, it will take you to the website. If you aren't able to do that, this is the website. All of the links in this presentation are live, and they should be when they're saved as a PDF. So if we click on this, you should be able to see that. Okay, now how do I get back? Help. Go back to the.
What do you need to get back to?
The PowerPoint.
It's on, just go up there and hit resume. It's highlighted. It says resume slideshow.
I'm sorry, where is it?
We can still see it.
You can still see the PowerPoint?
Yes, what you may need to do is go to find us on, go find your Zoom and work from there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You got it?
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, I see it. All right.
Yeah, it should be live.
So if you go to this website, you have to be in the Illinois Secretary of State's database. And to do that, you need a driver's license, and you need to know the last 4 digits of your social security number. It's possible if you've moved, you can use this website to change your voting address as well. Although 30 days before the election, technically you have to live in the precinct for 30 days before the election. So if you're moving now, it's too late. You don't want to change your registration. You want to vote in the place where you voted before. If you do anything with the Secretary of State, you can have automatic voter registration. They are supposed to ask you, it's supposed to be an opt-out situation. So if you do anything like you change a car or do anything like that, they're supposed to tell you, you're going to be registered to vote unless you don't want to be. The deadline for those are February 12th, so that's coming up soon. If you are beyond those dates, you can register at the early voting sites. And again, this is the link to that. The only catch, so to speak, with early voting sites is that when you register to vote, you have to vote at the same time. You can't then go home and think about it. So how do we vote? We vote by mail. You can vote early. You can vote on election day. To vote by mail, you have to request you may request an application online. This is the link in order to do that. The deadline is February 23rd. Don't wait until February 23rd for applications because they have to mail their ballot to you, your ballot to you. So do it as soon as possible. If you go to that website, you can also download a paper application and mail it in if you don't want to do it online. If you do that, if you want vote by mail, you'll receive the ballot after you apply. You return the completed ballot either by mail, they pay postage for you, or you can return it to a secure drop box, which has a timestamp at any early voting site. The deadline, ballot envelopes must be postmarked or time-stamped by or on February 28th. If you vote this way, don't forget to sign in the places where it's supposed to be signed, otherwise it can't be counted. Something that is a bit confusing sometimes is your completed vote by mail ballot may not be brought to your own precinct to be counted. If you do that, it has to be surrendered and a new ballot will be completed. Usually, when I've worked as an election judge, we let the person take their ballot in so they can fill it out. This ballot isn't very complicated, so that's probably not necessary. From February 13th to February 27th, early voting is now in all of the wards, one site in each ward, at the super site, at the Board of Elections office. And this is the link that gives you all of those addresses. If you want to drop off your vote by mail ballot, same dates, one site in each ward, these places. It's not necessary to mail them if you have concerns about the post office, and if you're able to drop them off, you don't have to go to the post office. On election day, polls are open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can vote in your home precinct polling place or any early voting site, which are now referred to as voting centers, but it's the same place. You can also register on election day. This website, the Chicago Board of Elections website, has, I shouldn't say a ton, it has a megaton of information about everything. View your registration, see the status of your vote by mail ballot, locate your polling place and early voting sites, view a sample ballot, and then you can see the results of elections that have already taken place. Again, this is the QR code to get there, or you can click here. So unless someone has a question, if we have time at the end, we can go to this if you're not familiar with using this website. Now we come to the candidates. As I assume many of you know, or maybe you don't. There are 9 candidates for mayor, and this is the ballot order as opposed to their alphabetical order. For city clerk and city treasurer, there's only 1 candidate for each position. They have no opposition, so they're essentially elected. For the alderman, alderpersons, there are 50 wards. At this point, at this time, there are 91 candidates. There are 34 alder people who are running for re-election. There are 11 candidates running for alderman who are unopposed, and there are 11 who are in a 2-person race, which means that that race will be decided on election day, or when the votes are counted. So again, we're referring you to the Illinois Voter Guide, marvelous source for all kinds of information. And again, if we have time at the end, we can look at it and you have a chance to put in some information. If no candidate receives 50% plus 1 of the vote, there will be a runoff election on April 4th for that position between the 2 highest vote getters in the February election. And last time this happened in 2019, there were actually more people who voted in the runoff election than voted in the first election, the municipal election. This is refers to candidates for police district. And this is a site that gives you a lot of information, but we're going to have an excellent PowerPoint coming up that gives you information about the police district councils. In this case, the candidates with the 3 highest number of votes will be elected. There will not be a runoff. If there are only 2 candidates, they will meet and make 2 recommendations to the mayor to select and appoint the 3rd member of the police council for that police district. In case you're curious about what the candidates are up to, this link takes you to the candidates' financial information. So it's got all the candidates who, including those for police districts, and it's got their financial disclosure information. Again, the Illinois Voter Guide links to that, which has a lot of information. If you're still, if you're interested in helping out and volunteering at this point, you still can serve as an election judge or election coordinator. And this is the link on the Board of Elections website if you want to participate in that. Or you can poll watch. I have poll watching credentials, which I can give you. You have to let me know if you want them. I'll put that in the email that I send out. And in the next weekly. After the April election, the Chicago Board of Elections will be reconsidering the precinct boundaries. So you might want to, you have comments about your own precinct, or you want to go to some others that have problems, you can poll watch there. And again, if you decide to poll watch for League of Women Voters of Chicago, I'll send you the credentials, and I'll also send you the information, suggestions about poll watching. We just want to point out that it's important to vote. A few votes can make a difference. In the last aldermanic election, it was 13 votes out of almost 11,500. In the 46th ward, it was 25 votes out of 14,000 that made the difference as to who won that particular election. So vote. So at this point, Chris, were there some questions that came up in the chat, or should we just go on to Catherine?
No, and I will tell you that when you're sharing your screen, I don't think I can see the chat, but I've just checked. There's nothing in there.
Oh, you know what? It's hidden usually.
Well, but there's nothing there, so no worries.
There's nothing there. Okay.
No, there's nothing there.
So either I was too confusing, or everybody knows all this stuff. It's hard to know with this group who's on first and who's on third. So if so, I apologize. But hopefully the links are helpful, and maybe you can use this with other groups if you talk to other people. So. Okay, so let's go on. Catherine, do you want to
Well,
now, or
Jane is playing hooky from her baby class. So she's still here. So we'll do this together. Thank you, Jane. I hope you're not putting your future baby at risk by not being.
No.
Just as background, the president of the League of Women Voters of Chicago is expecting a baby on April 15th,
Yes.
which is tax day, and it's also Harold Washington's birthday.
Yes.
And my
And
birthday.
after the runoff. So as long as we can make it till after April 4th, we're good.
And I am, this is, to the point, I need to run off to Chatham is why we're going early and taking questions during this session rather than waiting, because I have to moderate a candidates forum of 11 candidates. Yay, me. Isn't that going to be fun? So Jan and I have been hard at work. There's no question about that. And if you aren't getting emails from us, be patient, because we are cycling through everything that we do need to do. We thought we would break this up I think first of all, Jane, why don't you start by giving us the lowdown on mayoral candidate forums, and then we'll go to the aldermanic, and we're going to split it up by north side, south side.
Great. Yeah, so we had a really successful mayoral forum. I don't know how many of you were able to watch it with ABC. It was in partnership with ABC7, Univision, and also League of Women Voters of Illinois. It was if anyone thinks those things are really easy to plan, it was a lot of work went into that. It was really cool. I got to be like in the control room with the producers, like monitoring all the time stuff, and it was very, very wild. But we were really happy with, you know, how it came out, and ABC7 was really happy. And we already tentatively thinking towards the fact that there are so many mayoral candidates, the chances of a runoff are extremely high. So we actually already have a runoff mayoral forum partnership with ABC7 to sort of continue that. There also might be some sort of other mayoral forums that we'll jump into for the runoff stuff, but we definitely will be doing one with ABC7, probably a different format since there'll only be 2 candidates.
Did you want to just give the date since you did get the
We don't,
candidacy?
so we
Oh.
just we don't really have a date. It will be sometime mid-March, like in anticipation of just voting, but also giving enough time post-election for whoever makes it to the runoff to kind of, you know, figure out what they're doing.
And then we're playing around with the idea. We've already had, we were with the League of Women Voters of Illinois, the Disability Forum.
Mm-hmm.
So you might mention that. And also one that we're trying to drum up some business for. Do you want me to say that, or Gwen should talk about?
Oh yeah, so there's been a lot of sort of single issue mayoral forums that have been happening this election cycle. And one that we're not really seeing a lot talked about is environmental. So our Environmental Action Committee, we kind of have been talking with them about doing an environmental focused runoff forum. So if anyone's interested in volunteering, you know, helping organize that one, I definitely recommend reaching out to the Environmental Action Committee.
Okay, I guess I'll bring myself back at this point. Okay, so I think that I'm going to start by showing you where things are. I'm going to remove your spotlight for just a little while, Jane. So what you can do is, hold on, I'm going to share my screen. Yes. Okay, going to the League homepage. There are several ways where you can go and you can find what's going on with the candidate forums. You can look here under events, and we have our own page, candidate forums. You can go under voting, upcoming election, you'll find a link. You can scroll down here and you will find that we have a link here. So all of these are live links to the same page. This is a page, it's sort of our clearinghouse page for candidate forums. You can see we have a little bit going on today. So these are our past forums. And if you go to a past forum and you click on it, you will have access to the video. Okay. What I want to say to you also is that we have gotten it so that the Illinois Voter Guide, and that maybe it would be fun to do that. Let's just go in real quick and go to the Illinois Voter Guide. And I am going to put in a address for the 5th Ward. Oops, I clicked on something that I didn't mean to. Where's there it is. So you just go in and you start it, and then you're going to be asked a couple questions. And what you want to do is hit research your ballot. Research your ballot. And as you can see, it will only pull up, I put in Montgomery Place, and it's in the 5th Ward, and it is in the 2nd Police District. So it all comes up. But why I'm here is I wanted to show you when you can pull this up. Right here is a link to the ABC7 mayoral debate. If you go over here, you will see here's a link to our aldermanic form. So you can get these. Now, if you go in and click, it will also be available by candidate, the very same link. So I just wanted to show you all that so that you could see it. I said I would talk about the Southside unit, Southside candidate forms. So, it's really hard, but we have already done one in the 10th Ward. We did that at Altgeld Gardens and Philip Murray Homes Community Center, and that was very well done. Enjoyed that. Robin Charleston was our moderator. We did one in the Pullman, right next to Roseland, so that was just on the edge of Pullman, in the Greenstone Church, a historical church. And that one went well. And our candidate, our University of Chicago Institute of Politics intern, we have 2 interns, Philip and Inanna, he was in charge of that, and he was also the moderator. We have decided that we will hold off on the 21st, which is just going west of the 9th, because there will be a runoff. So we will pop into the 21st for a runoff. Nothing is happening in the 8th because we decided, I think many of you were at our briefing candidates forum. We are only doing candidate forums in wards that have vacancy, where if there is anyone who was appointed and has never been elected to that position, we're holding a forum. And in forums or wards where the incumbent has a serious challenger. And of course, then the other is if a community organization comes and asks us, we will go ahead. So we'll see. We could do the 8th if there's something happens. The 7th, there's no challenger. We have done the 5th, which is Hyde Park, Kenwood, and some South Shore. Coming up, as you can see, is the 4th on February 9th. That's Kenwood and Bronzeville and some other areas, going all the way up
South Loop.
I did, and going all the way up to the South Loop. We have plans for the 4th and the 5th to probably hold a runoff as soon as we finish the 5th. That was 12 candidates at Montgomery Place. They said, will you please come back for a runoff? So since that's kind of easy peasy, if you have a venue and you've got an audience, we'll probably go there. We're looking to do the same for the 4th, large number of challengers. We're not doing the 15th. We tried to do the 18th. We have a number of residents in the 18th, but the incumbent refused, and we could not have a forum with only one person. There was only one challenger. In the 9th, the incumbent refused, but there were 2 challengers, and we went ahead. Sharon, did you have a quick question? You're muted.
Yes. Are you doing the 1st ward? There's an incumbent.
We're going through them all. We're going through them
I'll
all.
handle that. I'll take that one. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
We're still on the
Okay.
south side. Let's get.
Okay, I'll hold my question then. Thanks.
Yeah, we're on the south side, and yeah, that's great. Thank you. And so we were unable to do the 18th. The 14th, there are 2. That's Ed Burke's Ed Burke's form ward. My words are getting confused here. One of the candidates is incommunicado. He's not answering anyone. He's not answering snail mail. He's not answering social media. He's not answering anything. So we closed it down. We can't do that. We can't do a candidates forum with just one candidate. And then the 12th is coming up. We have the 12th going well. And did I mention the 6th? How could I not mention the 6th? I'm going there today. And I think I'm going to stop there. The 24th, we are going to be doing a runoff. And that's pretty much what I have for what I'm calling the South Side. And if I didn't mention a forum, it's because the incumbent doesn't have a strong challenger or doesn't have a challenger at all. A lot of incumbents kicked everybody off the ballot too, like in the 3rd. Jane, I think, did you want to take over?
Yes, so I will also just say in terms of sort of our candidate forum page on our site, you'll also notice that there are forums that we are not directly a co-sponsor of, or we have not organized, but it is still a nonpartisan candidate forum, and we, know the groups that are putting it on, and we also feel like in terms of voter education, it's important to highlight those as well. So you'll also find ones that are not directly league sponsored there, but we're still, good forums to have. So I've been kind of focusing on sort of the north side. And in terms of sort of ones that we have coming up, we have one coming up in the 49th ward. We were actually reached out to from a bunch of community groups in the 49th ward as sort of the the experts in nonpartisan candidate forums, and they were really looking for, us to sort of lead on that. So I'm bringing in the North Side unit to sort of help moderate and volunteer with everything that we need to for that one. And that'll be on February 15th. And then we also have one actually next Wednesday. It'll be virtual, and that's in the 26th ward. So that was the strange timed Maldonado vacancy. So after he had gotten on the ballot, he decided to withdraw his candidacy. So there are 3 challengers. We have 2 of them that have confirmed attendance for the forum next Wednesday. I'm still trying to get a hold of the 3rd, but for those, it's a great opportunity because it will be a virtual forum to sort of learn what's happening. That's, it's an interesting ward. That's kind of the Humboldt Park, Logan Square area. Then in terms of runoffs, we're looking towards 48, 46, and 43, and then also first ward. So I think Sharon had a question about first ward, so hopefully I can answer it, or, Sharon, feel free.
Are you doing the first ward for the February 28th primary or only the runoff?
So I was in talks with community groups to try to organize one for February 28th, but there was some discrepancies with timing with meet and greets with the candidates. So we tentatively have an idea of doing a runoff for that one. So just as background for people, that there are 4 people running. There's the incumbent Daniel Espada, and then there's 3 challengers. So we are tentatively going to do some sort of runoff for the first
Well,
ward.
as an FYI, one of the 3 challengers is Sam Royko, the son of Mike Royko.
Yes. So the other challengers, it's Sam Royko, Proco Joe Moreno, who was the former alderman, who lost his seat to Daniel Espada in 2019, and then there's another challenger, Andy Schneider. So there's 4 men running for that seat. Chances are it will make it to a runoff. So we're very much looking to be involved in that. And I think is that it for the north side ones we're interested in?
You said 46, the runoff.
43rd and 49th. There's a chance, the 30th ward might also make it to a runoff. And we might jump into something.
Yeah. So we're going to have a lot of runoffs, and actually, we're looking forward to runoff so that we don't have 12, 11, 6, 8 candidates. And we can actually get some audience questions. In the chat, I think maybe the chat was set up to only come to me. It depends on how the Zoom was set up. So I think I'm the one receiving all of the chat. Adair Small shared a link to a candidates forum that was in Evergreen, and I'm going to see if I can.
Beverly. Was in
Yeah.
Beverly last night.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, Margie?
It was in Beverly last night.
Yes, and that's exciting. And what Jane and I will need to do, we're kind of spinning out of control right now, but what we'd like to do is have a section that includes all of the various mayoral, if there are videos, so people can watch different ones, and it's good. And thank you for sharing that link, because when we get around to thinking that through and getting it ready, we'll want to include that. But there,
I think in general, what's been really nice this election cycle is we've really tried to sort of pinpoint different areas of the city and really try to do at least, you know, 1 or 2 in the varying areas, because I think, you know, it's very important. You know, we obviously all live in different wards and we care about what's happening in our own wards, but what also is, you know, all of these people who get elected affect everybody, and there's larger policies that will be like they're all going to be voting on that affect everyone. So I really do encourage people to sort of take a look at some of these candidate forums or attend them in other parts of the city to sort of really see what is going on. You know, I've been bouncing around trying to make it as many of them in person, and it's really enlightening when you go to other parts of the city and see the things that they're concerned about, whether it's like building a local high school or opening up mental health clinics. Like there's a whole wide variety of issues. And I think, like, you know, that's also part of the voter education, is to be paying attention to what's happening in the city as a whole.
yeah. Also, I showed you briefly the Illinois voter guide and how these candidate forms are linked to. Also know that the League of Women Voters Chicago sent a survey questions to all the mayoral candidates, all the aldermanic candidates, and all of the candidates for the police district councils. And that should be going up soon. There's a deadline of, I think, was it February 9th? And this is going out through the Illinois voter guide, so we don't have to collect these and send them. It's all set up to go straight into the voter guide. So another place to get some information besides all the forums. So Jane and I both have to leave. She's got to learn how to become an excellent mother, and I have to go wrangle 11 candidates to keep them going in the right.
I think your job is harder than hers.
So we're taking our questions now. Anything, just fun questions, whatever. We're not holding ours until the end of the program. Sharon, go ahead. You'll need to unmute yourself.
I know this is being taped, but Jane, I've heard some really outstanding things about you from league members from other chapters. So,
Aww.
Oh, thanks
hang
so
in
much.
there.
That means a lot.
That's sweet. Okay, well, I think at this point, we're going to turn it over to Margie, who's going to fill us in on exactly what's going on with these police district councils. I am going to spotlight you.
Hi, Jane.
And you have the ability to screen share, and I am going to have to leave. I will make
Well, thank you, Catherine and Jane. Jane left already. Okay.
Helene, you're the host. Bye, you guys.
Wait a second,
Okay.
Catherine, can you make sure Julia can see and respond to chats because she's going to be monitoring it for this
Oh.
next presentation?
Yeah, let me send a message.
Okay, yes, she should be able to. She's right on there. You just have to scroll down and click on where it says Catherine, and you've got a choice of Helene, Julia, or Margie. You want to go with Julia.
Okay, thank you guys very much. And I'm going to share screen. Thank you, Catherine. And I can't say thank you to Jane because she's already gone, but she's got, as Helene said, she has more important things to do. So I'm going to share screen now. Oops, I can't share screen because it says someone else is sharing.
That's weird because I unshared mine. You're gonna have to deal with this, Helene, because I'm no longer the host.
Okay, wait a second. I can do it now.
Okay.
Okay, guys, there it is. All right, this is the beginning of my PowerPoint, but I want to make sure, can everybody still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Margie, do you want to advance while I'm still on to make sure you're good with all
Oh,
that?
I'm sure I'll be good.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. With that assurance, I'll probably screw it up, but here it is now. The material that's covered in this PowerPoint is from the League's city government webpage that's going to go live next week. So you'll be able to read everything that I'm talking about on the webpage in more detail. And Julia Utset, who is the city government webpage committee chair, did a fantastic job of researching and writing up the material on the police district councils and the community commission. So I like to give credit for these good substance of this PowerPoint to Julia. She worked very, very hard, and to Alona, who helped her. I helped a little bit, but those two get the main credit. I'm just presenting, and while I present, Julia will monitor the chat. But I ask you to hold all your questions because I will try to cover everything in the PowerPoint. But if it's a point of clarification, make sure to send a chat to Julia, and she will either clarify it by sending a message to all, or she will ask me to stop if it's something basic to make sure I clarify it. So with that, I am going to start my PowerPoint. And this is fairly new for me. So if you can't see the PowerPoint or you can't hear me at any point, let Julia know and she will let me know. Okay. This reform that we are going to be voting on, how it's going to be implemented, in other words, the people, is extremely important. And I hope that we all can think about what I'm going to say and share it with other people. In July 2021, the City Council passed the law that is being implemented in 2023 with the voting for the district councils. And what I want to emphasize is this reform is different from all the previous police reforms we've had, because with this reform, you get to vote for who will represent you for your specific neighborhood, and you will get a voice in how you are policed. It's not going to be somebody else that is doing it. And the ordinance that was passed in 2021 is called Empowering Chicago for Police Safety, sometimes abbreviated as ECPS. And this ordinance created an interdependent two-tiered structure. The grassroots tier is the 22 district councils who you will be electing on February 28th. The other tier is a citywide community commission. It only has 7 members, but it has the power to implement the reforms suggested at the local level. So the people that go to district council meetings and join in the brainstorming to invent ways to improve policing will be the people's voice that is amplified and implemented by the community commission. So first, I'm going to talk about just the district councils, and I'll talk about the second tier at the end. There will be, for the district councils, there will be 3 people elected to represent the residents in each police district of Chicago. And there are 22 police districts. So every district will elect 3 representatives. And with 22 police districts, that means on February 28th, 66 people are going to be directly elected to represent the people of Chicago, but at a local level, in deciding what type of policing we should have in Chicago. And just as an aside, if you live in a district that has the numbers 24 or 25, there are only 22 districts, but for certain historical reasons or practical reasons, 13, 21, and 23 do not exist. Okay. All right, I want to emphasize again that despite the fact that there's a district council in each of the 22 police districts, the district councils do not represent the police. They represent the residents who live in that police district. And how they're going to, what they're going to focus and how they're going to do that is their primary focus is to build connections between the people living in the district and the police that work in the district, because they want to increase trust between the police and the district councils. And there will be monthly local public meetings with the residents of each police district by their district council. The 3 people that are elected in your police district will hold monthly public meetings so you can talk to them, so you can tell them what you want. And the district councils, these 3 people's priorities are to listen and work with their community, but they will also collaborate with the police directly or indirectly. And the reason, I mean, it's foundational to this whole reform that in order to have good policing, you have to have a partnership between the people and the police. But right now, there are certain things that aren't clarified, as to whether an official representative will show up at the various district council meetings, at the 22 meetings every month. But if they don't show up, there will still be, the district councils will still get in touch with the police. They'll still work with the police because this is a partnership with the police to create laws that are better. But the police do not have the say in the laws. It is the people that have the say in what they're going to propose for reforms. I'm not going to cover everything on this slide because these are details that you can look at later, but I just want to point out here that you cannot be a member of, actually be an employee of the Chicago Police District and be a district council. In fact, you can't have been employed by the police department for the last 3 years, nor can you have been employed by the Independent Police Review Authority or COPA or the police board. This is supposed to be the people of the neighborhoods representing the people. The monthly district council meetings don't start until May 2023. And I want to emphasize that this reform will only be as good as your participation in the meetings. Because when you go to the district council meeting in your police district, which is not run by the police again, it's run by people you elect. You can raise concerns about public safety in your neighborhood. You can advocate for specific police policies. You can complain if you want to. For example, the Loop, you say the policemen won't get out of the cars. They won't do anything. They sit in their cars. You can raise questions about how traffic stops are conducted. You can request more mental health specialists. You can bring up anything you want, and it's up to the district councils to work with the community commission to get your requests transferred to actual policy. The district councils are going to be doing more than just meeting with the residents, which is their primary responsibility. At least once a quarter, they'll meet with the other district councils. So somebody from each district council will get together, at least 22 people, to talk about what's going on in all the areas of Chicago. And they will also send representatives to an annual meeting to actually formally propose what the community commission should be doing. And they will report continually all their findings, conclusions, and recommendations to the community commission. And once they're elected, there are 3 district council members, and they will each have a position. One will be the chair, one will be community engagement coordinator, and one will be a member of the nominating committee, which I'll talk more about in a few minutes. And if your district council doesn't decide who's going to fill what role fast enough, the community commission will assign the roles. Now, what happens in February 28th? Okay, in the February 28th election, voters may vote for up to 3 people, and the top 3 vote getters in each district win. There will be no runoffs. It's the top 3 vote getters. That's it. So you go, you vote, and once the votes are tabulated, you'll know who your district council representatives are. Now, luckily, it's competitive. There are more than 3 candidates running in 17 of the 22 districts. So you have a choice when you go to the polls. And there are a few districts with fewer than 3 candidates running, but you will still have three district councils, because the 3rd member will either be appointed later or be elected in a write-in through the write-in process. The appointment process is a little complicated. I've got a short description on this slide, and you can also look at the ordinance for a more detailed description. This slide talks about the write-in candidates. The term self-identified was created by me, because that was the best way I could describe it. And that means that there are people that say they're running as write-ins, that are out campaigning as running as write-ins. But the key thing in Chicago and some other areas, you have to be what's called a qualified candidate. Your name getting written in will only be counted as a vote is if you filed a timely notice that is a declaration of intent to be a write-in candidate. So if somebody didn't file a declaration of intent to be a write-in candidate and gets more votes than the candidate in the ballot and more votes than qualified candidate, the votes won't count. The votes of a write-in candidate will only be counted if the person trying to run as a write-in timely filed a declaration of intent to be a write-in candidate. And it's critical to notice that these write-in candidates, who they are, who qualified, will be posted on the elections website on February 22nd. So if you vote before February 22nd, you might miss somebody that you could have voted for if you didn't look them up beforehand, because you can write them in if they're a qualified candidate, and that will be counted as a vote. If they're not a qualified candidate, and it has nothing to do with how good they are, it just has to do with one piece of paper being timely filed. So keep that in mind when you're looking up your candidates, because the Chicago Reader, I'm going to have the site later in this PowerPoint, has made an effort to interview these self-declared write-in candidates. But whether or not your vote for them will count, you won't know until you look at the list that's published on February 22nd. Now, if you don't know what police district you're in, you can click on this link and find it. And if you want to see what your police district looks like or what its boundaries are, you can click on the second link in this page. The map to the right is one of the maps that's on the second link. And that's the map of all the beats in the city, because some people know their beat better than they know their district, because CAPS, which is the local community policing organization, meets by beat, at least in the Loop area. Okay. There's a very critical point about district councils that I haven't covered, and this is going to be my last main point about district councils. Once elected, the district councils have an additional role. They nominate the candidates for the community commission. There's a lot of detail about how they nominate them. I'm not going to cover it, but what's important here is you elect your district council. Then your district council nominates who will be on the community commission that the district council reports to. It's kind of an interrelated process, but the community commission actually went live as an interim commission first. I'm going to talk about that. So they could set up the groundwork for this new two-tiered reform effort. And the effort is done, it's done this way so that the top level, the community commission that has the power to move the reforms forward is directly connected to and responsible to the residents. That's what makes this reform so different from everything else. So I just want to make one point more about voting for your district council. This is really critical because since they serve a 4-year term, you will determine when you vote in the February election, you will determine who will be on your police district council for 4 years. And you will determine by who you vote for whether this hard-fought reform will be successful, because it's been in the works for a long time. So let's move on to the Community Commission now. Remember, this is the 7-member second tier of the reform. The district councils elected by all the residents of Chicago are the grassroots tier. This is the higher tier. And there, as I said, there's an interim community commission that has been in existence for a while. They were nominated by the city council and appointed by the mayor.
Where are you canvassing this weekend? Question mark.
Pardon, I didn't hear that. Okay, I thought somebody made a comment. Okay, but anyway, you may attend the community commission's meetings in person or via YouTube live stream, and past meetings are on the commission's YouTube channel. If you click on that link, that will take you to the Community Commission webpage, and you can learn more details about the Community Commission. And what the Interim Community Commission is currently focusing on is accepting input from Chicagoans, direct input regarding the Chicago Police Department's collection of information, the GAIN database. So if you are concerned about that, log into YouTube channel and send in your input. And the next Community Commission meeting will be in late February. So as I pointed out, once the district councils are elected, they will nominate the candidates for the permanent community commission, and that will probably happen sometime in the fall when the mayor actually appoints the permanent members that will have a 4-year staggered terms, and these district councils then will report to the permanent community commission. The most important aspect of this reform right now is the community commission's powers, and one that's been in the news lately because some of the higher ups are pushing back on this, is the community commission gets to set the goals for the police superintendent. There's been some pushback there, for the chief of the civilian Department of Police at COPA, that will be making its own suggestions, and the police board president. And just so you know, COPA gathers evidence in cases of alleged misconduct. That's a fairly recent reform, where the superintendent and the police determine whether and how officers found to have committed misconduct will be disciplined. So I went to the December meeting of the Community Commission, and it was fascinating. They talked about the goals set by the police superintendent. They decided they weren't data driven, they couldn't be measured. They suggested new goals that they should set that were more helpful to the community. It is a fascinating interactive group of people who have a lot of great ideas, and I've learned so much just in one meeting. So another big power, and that's the one that's been controversial lately, is setting the goals for the police superintendent. Another power that the Community Commission has is appointing the chief of COPA, subject to city council approval. And COPA also nominates the police superintendent and the police board members. And that's one of the reasons you hear a lot about various groups trying to capture the district council seats, because they want to influence who the community commission nominates for police superintendent, for the police board members, for the chief of COPA. And they can only do that by getting a seat on the district council and getting their community to approve what they want to have done. Another thing that the Community Commission does is it approves all police policies. Previously, the police just wrote its policies, and typically they became the policy. but now they have to be approved first by this community commission. The community commission also reviews the police budget before the city council votes on it. And to increase transparency, city officials are required to provide documents and records upon community commission requests within 14 days. So these powers are what empower the community commission to make sure that the suggestions and requests of the district councils are in fact implemented by the city of Chicago. Now, I want to point out just a few things here. Obstructing the work of the community commission is a crime, and the inspector general will investigate it. That was put in because this commission is so important. But there are some things that will not change. Maybe focus on two of them. The police board and the superintendent of police will still have the final say in disciplining police. The mayor will still retain full authority to dismiss the superintendent and members of the police board. However, if the community commission isn't satisfied with what's going on, it can issue a vote of no confidence in the COPA chief, the superintendent of police, or in any member of the police board, and force a hearing on it in the city council committee on public safety. So the committee on city council committee on public safety hasn't been very active lately. Now they are going to be very active. And I want you to watch in the next vote magazine, League of Women Voters of Chicago weekly that comes out. Chris has an article on how the committee structure works that is just fascinating, and it will eventually be on the city government's webpage. But watch for what's coming in. I think it's probably the next edition of our weekly newspaper. Okay, who can sit on the community commission? It's a little complicated, but I'll give you a summary. You can look at this chart. The 7 members in total, 2 are going to be young adults, 2 are going to be attorneys, and 3 are going to be community leaders, with more information on the right side that you can read. Now, the geographic distribution of the commissioners is also important. 2 are going to be from the north side, 2 are going to be from the south side, 2 are going to be from the west side, and 1 can be from anywhere. So the community commission will definitely represent all the people of Chicago. Now, I think some of you have been watching the news, and there has been a lot in the news, like the Fraternal Order of Police is trying to organize groups to run to be district council candidates. And I want to focus on the response of Anthony Driver. He responded to what's going on, and the various people with various views, like the people that want to defund the police, and I can't tell you what these views are of the Fraternal Order of Police, or the interim president. It responded to all of them very well. And this is the interim president of the community commission. And since I can't see, my screen is covered up, I want to get his quote accurately. Let me go to it. He said that this ordinance that I've been talking about calls for civic participation. And he said, pointed out, that includes any union that represents civilians. And this is his exact quote: "We didn't fight to pass this ordinance so that only one group of people can have a voice. We did it so all groups of people can have a voice. However, it's my hope that people who have views that represent equity and justice for all Chicagoans will be the group that wins out." So if we all research our vote and get out and vote and share the information we have picked up by researching it with our neighbors and tell them about the importance of these district councils, hopefully his hope will come to be the reality. So in researching your vote, I want to emphasize that there are a couple of things you can do to study each candidate's positions. Affiliations also are important, and values before you vote. Of course, there's the League of Women Voters guide that covers this, and the link is on this slide. And then I also want to suggest you visit other voter guides. such as the one from the Chicago Reader. And more basically, you can just go Google the name, the candidate's name, and read what you find, or go on social media and see if there's anything that the candidate has written. And when you do all that, after you read the materials and get an idea of what's going on, ask yourself these questions. Do I agree with the social media posts? Whoops, I got to get to the next slide, sorry. Oops, nope, gotta go back here. Okay. Do I agree with the social media post of the candidate? Will the candidate listen to my community? Which candidate do I want speaking for me? Because although you can go to the meetings and you can share your thoughts and your ideas, you need to have a district council representative who will then communicate your ideas, not their ideas, to the community commission. So I want to point out to you, I know some of you think that this is a great reform, so you don't have to vote. You've got the district councils to do your work. It's not true. Depending on who is elected to district council, the members of the councils can operate differently. In other words, this is a reform. If you vote for people that are actually interested in improving policing for Chicago, you will help the reform. But this reform can be hijacked if you do not personally research your vote and cast an informed vote. Make sure your neighbors do. Make sure your neighbors know about it too before they go to vote, because there were a lot of people that didn't understand that they needed to run to be a candidate in a certain time frame because they didn't know what was going on. Every one of you go out and tell your neighbors what's going on, what the district councils are, and tell them to research their vote and vote. So at that point, I'm going to stop sharing because that's the end of my PowerPoint, and ask if anybody has any questions of me. And I think we should open it up to everybody because people may have questions of Helene also, and we'll take questions.
Chris?
It was a very good presentation. Thank you. There are a lot of moving parts to this. It's very obvious. And I'm wondering at this point what the areas of concern are in terms of the implementation, because it just seems so thorough, like nothing could go wrong. But what are the areas of concern?
Well, I think, first of all, making sure people know about it and go and become informed voters, because there was not everybody knew in time to get involved. For instance, when we had one of the alderpersons come to our my condominium in the Loop, there were people actually that came up to me afterwards and got mad at me. They said, "Why didn't you tell us that it's too late for us to run? Why didn't you tell us?" And I looked at him and I said, "But it's in the newspaper." And I knew this gentleman was conservative. I said, "It's been in the Tribune." And he says, "The Tribune hasn't covered this." I don't know what else to tell you, but getting out the information objectively and to as many people as possible is the best way for this to go forward. Like Anthony Driver said, everybody is included in it. Police are people, radicals are people, everybody are people of Chicago, and they need to vote responsibly. That's the best I can tell you.
Sharon?
My question is exactly what you're talking about, Margie. How soon can those of us in this webinar get a copy of your slide presentation? I'd like to forward it ASAP.
20 minutes,
Okay, thank you.
but I'll send it as a PDF, not as a PowerPoint.
Well,
'cause
that's
not every-
fine, but,
Okay.
Margie's information was outstanding. It's all in one place, which is a plus. It's easy to understand, and while a lot of people I know may know about some of the information that was in your slides, Helene, everything in Margie's slide is new to a lot of
Right,
people.
definitely. Okay, no,
Thank you.
turn it into a PDF and I will send it to everybody who registered for this meeting this
Okay, so
morning.
sometime this afternoon then.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize that Julia and Alona and I did this together. And when the web page goes live for the City Government Committee, please visit it. There's additional material. And this only reason this has covered everything so succinctly is because of Julia and Alona.
Also, I should mention that there is another meeting on Monday night, which has been in the weekly, and I'll put it in the email I sent to you. It's a presentation that's done by Promote the Vote, and it's scheduled to be an hour and a half about district councils. So that's a different format. It's not a presentation per se, it's a panel. And that has been in the, we've been publicizing it, but I will include it in the information when I send out these links. And I think Julia Klein, are you there? No, I guess she's not. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here, Helene.
Okay, isn't Driver speaking Monday night?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I forget who's speaking Monday night. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll also mention the Neighbors Who Vote meeting that's happening here on the South Side on Sunday, tomorrow, the 5th. We are having the other South Side Commissioner, Yvette Loizon, as our guest speaker. So if people can't make the Monday night meeting, but they want to come here and have the opportunity to ask questions of Yvette Loizon on Sunday, that's at the Neighbors Who Vote meeting on here in Hyde Park on Sunday, tomorrow.
Okay. Chris?
In my district, which is 18, I think it's the 22nd, and it's 1832. There was a presentation of the candidates that they made, and I'm wondering if anybody knows if it was videotaped. And if I wasn't able to make the event, I'd like to be able to watch that. I don't know who sponsored it.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm sorry, Chris.
Okay.
You could probably Google it and find it.
See if I can. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what district did you say?
18.
I hope I've got my voter ID card in there so I could tell you. I mean, I'm now in the 2nd ward. So some things have changed, but I don't think that means that,
So the police district is different from the wards, so.
yeah.
Chris,
So
I think you're in the 18th.
18th, the old Town Triangle was part of an alliance that sponsored the one for the 18th, but I don't know if it was recorded.
no, I'm in Streeterville. And it was nearby. This presentation was nearby. I think there are 6 candidates.
Well,
But you could still be in, I don't know the boundaries, but could you not still be in the 18th district?
The
Well,
18th
she
is
can
the
look
police
it up.
district,
If
not
you
the
Google
council
your police
district.
district, you can look it up. What
Okay.
I have is the 18th district has 5 candidates. And we have 20 league members in that, or I'm sorry, 49 league members in that district. So it sounds Streeterville to me.
Yeah, there is a link right on the PowerPoint when it comes out. When you click on it, all you do is you put in your address and they will tell you your police district. And if you
Okay.
want to say,
And I get notices all the time, so I just need to be more cognizant of
yeah,
those details.
and once you get your police district, you can click on the 2nd link in that page and you can see a map of it. They have multiple maps of the whole city and maps of individual districts. So you can see how far your district extends. So who you will be working with to communicate to your district councils. It's an interesting, it's actually the police site.
Okay. Margie, I
Beata?
hate to keep asking
and
all-
Margie, Beata and I have our hands raised.
Yeah, yeah, I was about to call on who goes first here. Beata, why don't you go first?
Okay, so I live in the 24th district, beat 2422, and I go to the beat meetings. It's usually my husband and I and about 2 other people. So my question is, Julia has corrected me. There are 7 candidates running in the 24th district. I've only met one and I've only received written material from one. I'm wondering, when we have the aldermanic forum, if we could at least, I'm sure because there are, I think, 4 candidates running for the 49th ward, if we could at least make available to people this link for the districts, because having only met one person and talked to them, my inclination as what I consider a informed voter is I'm just going to vote for him, you know, and hopefully he'll get the most votes. He seemed to be a reasonable person with some reasonable ideas. And if I feel like this, what does the average voter in Chicago think about this? I mean, yes, of course, interest groups who can bring, I don't know, what, 50, 100 people to the polls that day, they'll elect who they want because they have created that kind of advocacy for their candidate. But it's, I don't know, it's frustrating or perturbing to me that we have so little public information about these people. They could be anybody.
Well, you can
I
go
totally agree, and I think that's the problem. Chris, did you have a question?
No,
Unmute.
I'm interested in this and I'm
No,
wondering.
Chris,
Oh,
excuse me,
Chris, okay.
All right.
So sorry.
Okay, I was sending a bunch of questions to Julia in the chat, and since she is the only person who can see them, I thought I'd go through what they were. And when we're talking about candidates, I'm pretty sure, excuse me, that the Illinois voter guide is not going to include any information about the police district candidates.
Yes, they do. They do have it.
I think they're just, I'm talking about they have their names, but they don't have any, I don't think they're asking them any questions. They're not part of the request for information because they only covered some of the positions, but we'll see once it comes out.
Yeah, it
It's
is
out,
live
but,
now, Chris, but if you don't find a lot of information, that's why I put the reader's
reader
guide on, because the
Yes,
reader.
no, I just wanted to let people know that they probably should start looking at the reader guide right away. And maybe I'll be surprised and we'll see, but I'm pretty sure they weren't asking them any questions. They do have their names up there, just like they have all candidates on the ballot. But some of the questions I asked was, I was asking that if I'm correct, that the district councils can make recommendations, but they don't have any power per se to implement their recommendations. They're passing them on to the commission. Is that correct?
That is correct, but remember, once the district councils are elected, they nominate who is going to actually be on the permanent commission. So there is an ability to influence who's in the commission. Both the district councils and the commissions have 4-year terms, but the commissions are staggered. So they get to say who's going to be the district councils get to say who's going to be the commission. The commission is the 7-member commission is the only one that has the power to review police powers, to change things at the top, but they are nominated by the district council. So there's a feedback loop. Who the residents elect as district council, they will in turn determine who is on the community commission. So it's interrelated. So there's always feedback from the residents going up.
Let me just interrupt for a second. I just looked at the Illinois voter guide for the 49th Ward one, the 24th Police District. They do have everyone's names, but they also have some highlighted, which means that they did provide information. So I think it's a case of whether they chose to answer the questions or whether they've had time to answer those questions. So 2 of the people in the 24th districts have answered, like there were 2 things, issues, drug policy and guns were the 2 issues.
Okay, good.
So, I'm
perfect.
sure,
Good.
give it some time because people don't respond immediately, but it is part of what's in the Illinois voter guide.
Good, okay,
I'm
great.
sorry, who is next? Adair, I think?
Did you want me to keep going through my
Oh, I'm
chat or
sorry,
no?
sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I also asked, will the police participate, at least with someone being there at the district council meetings? Because to answer questions, correct misinformation, et cetera. And Julia wrote back, it's not mandated in the ordinance, but that the contacts with the current community commission said they expect the police will send a representative to the meeting, which I think is good because that will increase communication.
Yeah, that is hope. I've spoken to Damon Smith, the Deputy Director of District Councils for the Community Commission, and he's very hopeful that will happen. And he's also very hopeful that it will be the same official representative. But what I want to stress is even if for some reason the police don't have the manpower, or for some reason they don't send an official representative each time, the district council can reach out to the police, and individual police officers can always attend in their own capacity, because police are people too, they can attend.
And I'm done.
Okay, Adair?
I'm in the 22nd beat, and we have 5 candidates running for the council. The reader did pose questions to all of them. One gave a thorough answer. One candidate just did a 1-sentence sort of philosophy answer. And another candidate answered most of the questions. 2 of the candidates have not responded at all yet. And in our in this area, we are having 2 candidate forums for the district council. BAPA, which is the Beverly Area Planning Association, is sponsoring one of them, and Southsiders for Peace, another local organization down here in the Beverly area, is also sponsoring a forum for this one particular beat, the 22nd. So I just wonder if other neighborhood organizations around the city might be able to do this.
Okay, Sharon, thank you, Adair.
I have a question for Margie. As all of us know, a number of mayoral candidates have said they would fire Police Superintendent Brown. Anybody who's mayor has the power to do so. My question is, based on these police district councils and the 7-member community commission to be appointed this fall, if whoever becomes mayor fires the current police and superintendent, which the mayor would have the power to do, can that mayor appoint a new police superintendent, or must that mayor wait until this fall after the community commission is appointed?
Well, the community commission could, in theory, be appointed sooner than fall, because the district councils, once they're elected, can start working on nominating people, but the mayor could stall and not appoint somebody. But if that happens, remember the community commission has the power to vote no confidence in the current police superintendent or anything that happens until the nominations go forward. And the city council must hold a hearing, a public hearing. But once the community commission and the interim community commission has all the powers of the commission too, so they can't just bypass the interim commission. And with the interim commission in power, or with the permanent commission in power, the mayor can only nominate somebody can only appoint somebody that who has been nominated by the community commission. So there are restrictions, and the ordinance is a little complicated. If the mayor refuses to appoint people that are nominated, the mayor can't go out and appoint who she wants. The community commission gets to appoint somebody else. The mayor never has the power now to appoint somebody who hasn't been nominated by the community commission.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking not about the appointment of the community council. I'm asking about the appointment of the new police superintendent if Brown is fired.
And I'm
Can
saying
the new mayor must the new mayor only appoint an interim police superintendent under this ordinance that establishes this whole system? Or can the new mayor, whoever that mayor is, appoint a new police superintendent? That's my question.
I
the
think
mayor-
Julia's trying to answer that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Julia?
Since the law has already taken effect, and because there's already an interim community commission, if the new mayor were to fire the superintendent, the interim community commission would nominate all candidates to replace him.
And from that list of police superintendent candidates by the interim commission, the mayor would have to appoint one, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Julia?
Julia Klein, me, Julia?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's unusual for there to be two Julias on a call. I'm not accustomed to it. Anyway, I wanted to circle back to the comments and questions about police participating in our meetings. And full transparency, I am a candidate. I am running for police district council in the 2nd police district. But I wanted to share that the perspective that there are many in my community who hope that police will not attend our meeting because there is a tremendous need and desire for a safe space for community members to share the truth of what they experience at the hands of police in a space where they do not feel threatened by police presence. So I just want to interject that perspective into this conversation because I don't know everybody who's on this call, but I don't think anyone lives on the South Side, and I also don't see anybody. I don't see any faces who are not white, including my own. And we need to remember that in surveys about whether police make people feel safe or unsafe, 60% of Black men in the city of Chicago said that police make them feel unsafe. And the numbers is very different for different demographic groups. But when we say police increases the feeling of safety, we need to be cognizant of who we're talking about when we say that police increases the feeling of safety. There are many in the city of Chicago for whom police are dangerous. Police are a threat. Police are unsafe. And I'll finally say that as far as police participating in in a discussion, strengthening the relationship, improving community policing, all of those things that are on the agenda for this police district council race. In the course of human relationships, when harm is inflicted, and you attempt to cure the relationship or restore the relationship or heal the relationship, the best first step is for parties who inflicted harm to take responsibility and apologize and set forth a plan for why it's going to be different going forward. If anybody on the call has ever been in a relationship with an alcoholic, for example, who's blown up a family dinner with a bender, there's family discussions about if you want to come back to Thanksgiving next year, we need to set up some parameters to make sure that you're not going to blow up family dinner next year with your alcoholism. In a similar fashion, the burden currently is on police to accept responsibility for the harm that they've inflicted and set forth a plan outlining how we can feel that that harm will not continue to be inflicted. And in a situation where there is no where cops have unlimited immunity, they expect no consequences for their actions. And most recently, there was a $910. This is the last thing I'm going to say. There was a $910,000 settlement awarded about 6 weeks ago to a police sergeant who attempted to blow the whistle because, of course, there are some good police officers. This sergeant witnessed a wrongful shooting on the part of another officer, and then two more officers tried to cover up that wrongful shooting. This police officer, sergeant, tried to blow the whistle on those three, the shooter and the two cover-ups. And those three successfully demoted him. And that was the basis for his lawsuit. He was awarded $910,000. And that, of course, comes out of taxpayer money. So that police sergeant was awarded a $910,000 settlement by a jury. And the three wrongful cops, the three bad apples, we might say, are still collecting CPD paychecks. So if we are going to continue with this narrative that there's just a few bad apples in an otherwise great system, then please, at the very least, let us put some focus on plucking those bad apples. And finally, as long as there are bad apples remaining, the 3rd police district down here on the south side next door to me is the single worst in the entire city as far as police response. You call 911 in the 3rd police district, you wait 75 minutes on average. And it doesn't matter if somebody's bleeding to death. The man that I'm running with, Costin Plummer, witnessed somebody getting shot in the face 3 times. Police didn't show up for 75 minutes. And when they did, they kind of had an attitude about it. Like they thought they were, in any case. So I wanted to inject that different perspective on policing into this discussion about, to make sure that we all understand that there are many different, there's a predominance in some communities about their feelings about police and the lack of safety that police provide that is different than what was being previously expressed. So thank you for allowing me to have a platform for me.
Thank you for your views, Julia.
Yeah,
Cassandra,
Julia,
did you have your hand up or
response?
not?
Can I make one response, Julia? I think
Sure.
what you said is very important. And I asked Damon Smith, what happens, the deputy director for district councils? I asked him what happens if the district council does not agree with the current police protocols. And he says there is a method where they can to write up a formal recommendation to change the policy and why. So there are ways. We couldn't cover everything in this presentation, but he said there is a way where they can formally provide a written request or recommendation immediately to the commission. I can't tell you what happens next, but there is a way, because he is aware of, as are most people, that not everybody views police. In fact, when we've had our discussions privately, we've said some police are viewed as an occupying force, depending on where they are located. So that is a very important thing, and everybody is supposed to have a voice in this reform.
Thank you. Cassandra, I thought I saw your hand up, or did you not have it up?
I didn't have it up for anything other than just agreeing with what Julia was saying in terms of being mindful and how we speak about the approach to either the district councils or anything, I think, involving CPD, and noting that just everything she said was really great. And I think it's something to keep in mind as we continue approaching the topic of public safety and the, and CPD in our meetings.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you all for participating in this.